Honorable Elijah Muhammad to walk around with these names, and therefore he teaches us that during...
Greetings, listeners. I begin in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful. I bear witness that there is but one God. Welcome to the Black Agenda here on the Street 919 FM. I am Brother David Muhammad, and I'm going to be in studio with you up to 9 o'clock this morning. And in a short while from now, I will open up the telephone lines and take your calls on 3420081 and 4665391. And you can send WhatsApp messages straight to me on 3320214. And you can go to the social media pages of the Street 919 FM and CSC Studio. So, another day in Trinidad and Tobago, my beloved people. And of course, we are in the emancipation period. And next week, Sunday, I'm having my special emancipation lecture. It's next week, Sunday, July 31st, 11 a.m. at the Kwame Ture Center. And we'll have some items available on sale, and it's a powerful message. And the theme of the message is from emancipation to liberation. Because we, of course, believe more in celebrating our liberation than emancipation. As I always say and have been saying every year for the longest while, emancipation is what was given to us by our enemies. Liberation is what we take for ourselves. Emancipation is when our enemies get together, have a meeting, and decide to give us freedom. But liberation is when we get together, have a meeting, and decide to take our freedom. Emancipation was controlled by the enemy. Liberation is controlled by us. This is why we celebrate African Liberation Day every year. We have the African Liberation Unity Conference, May 26th, every year. And so the next stage of consciousness is to enlighten the minds of these young ones, beloved. So I have a number of presentations this week coming up. I'll tell you about them next week, okay? I'm not going to preempt anything, but some really interesting presentations that I have coming up, and I'm looking forward to all of them. And this year as well, you know, things opening back up. Last couple years, I've done emancipation presentations on video, online, posted YouTube presentations for different companies and institutions and so on. There's still some of that this year. I'm doing the feature dress for the Emancipation Committee in South Trinidad. That's going to be online. In fact, check my Facebook page, and because we'll be doing, I'll be doing that on Zoom and also on my own Facebook page. Wednesday, I think it's 6:30 on Wednesday. So, family, I'd like to say that the price of bread is about to go back down, and the price of flour also, I'd like to say, is about to be reduced, because it has been world news that the government of Russia and the government of the Ukraine have signed an agreement and immediately opened back up the trade routes that were closed off, because our understanding of the issue was that it was not that wheat was not being produced. It was. But there was a storage issue, that an overabundance in storage, and somehow Russia had manipulated the trade routes with the Ukraine, and so it was not available. But as of about 3 days ago, that was over. So let's see if within a few days from now, the price of bread, the price of flour will go back down. Remember, they gave clear reasons as to why the price of bread went up, why the prices of flour increased. And many of us were surprised, but that's what they said. They said it's because of the Russia-Ukraine war. So it's been all over BBC, it's been on Sky News, it's been on ITV, Reuters, the major international news networks, that Russia and Ukraine signed an agreement, I think it was like Tuesday or Wednesday or so, where that blockade is now over, and the factors that caused the increase in the price of flour have been reversed. So let's see. In the meantime, of course, we're going to continue encouraging the usage, and not just in the meantime and afterwards. Breadfruit, cassava, yams, dashings, eddos, plantains, green figs, and all of those other foods that are growing in abundance under our foot. Minister Farrakhan used to say in the 1980s when he came through the Caribbean, he said, our land is so fertile and minerally rich that you can spit and a tree would grow. And that we have this resource under our feet, but we're not utilizing it as we should. So the Kwame Ture Center, we're about to launch an agriculture program. It's a powerful program. And of course, the Boys Academy is taking place. Bring out the boys, 17 years and under. Saturday mornings. We just have 4 weeks left for this current cycle, because we're doing them in cycles of 10 weeks. So after we cut off in mid-August, we're going to resume in mid-September. But this week, of course, we're covering teamwork. Next week, we're doing a self-defense session again, but the week after, we have our beloved brother Alpha Senon, one of the leading young farmers in this country. This young brother, who we're so proud of, Alpha Senon, has gone around the world representing Trinidad and Tobago in agriculture. All different types of projects. And our brother, who incidentally is an African Muslim, and I say that in the context of a particular country that he went to a couple of years back, Israel. Brother went to Israel, and while he was over there, well, you know how Israel... Let me move on. But we're looking forward so much, so we're all the boys are going to be planting something, and then they'll be monitoring it over the weeks and the months, getting the young men and also our girls into the culture of agriculture. The culture of agriculture. So, beloved. So, family, that's in the cup. So, Saturday mornings from 10, we start on time, we finish on time. We start at 10 o'clock, finish at 11:30. Boys 17 and under, and we have had 6 fantastic sessions thus far. This week is week number 7. It has all been so amazing, so incredible. So, family, of course, I don't want to go too much into the issues that are very heavily covered. Of course, the crime rates, right? So we have a really huge problem with the crime rate, and we crossed the 300 mark of murders, and I mean, one day I heard it was 298 or something, and then next time I heard the news on it, they said it was 306. So this is an urgent situation. I also heard the government make an announcement about some programs for young males to guide them away from crime. All right, good. I'm glad to hear that. We're continuing to do our work. We have to, beloved, regardless of what. We have to do this. We have to do this. This is the work that we're doing at the Kwame Ture Center. It's a purpose, beloved. It's a purpose. But what I want to talk to you about this morning, what I want to start off talking about, and I'm going to open up the phone lines hopefully before 8, but there is a forerunner to the reparations conversation. So I've been invited to Jamaica once again for the annual Marcus Garvey celebrations, which draws out thousands of people in Ocho Rios, Jamaica. I've been delivering a feature address there every year since 2016. Last 2 years was online, but we're back in person again this year. Looking forward to it so much. But the theme, which I'm not going to talk about right now, I'll probably touch on it next week, over the next couple of weeks. The theme is centered around the issue of Jamaica and other Caribbean countries that are not yet becoming a republic. And I was on radio in Jamaica last week, and we also had a beloved guest stay over at our home on the way to a conference in St. Lucia. That's another thing I have to tell you about. The Mount Kailash Rejuvenation Center in St. Lucia. Listen, Saturday morning, this is how it is. We're going in so many different directions, but I have to take a couple of minutes to tell you about this place. The Mount Kailash Rejuvenation Center in St. Lucia. This is a place, and I was actually on an online forum based in England with this brother, the brother who runs this center. Now, this place in St. Lucia, up in the hills of Castries, is visited by our people from all across the hemisphere. Apparently, people go there to be healed. And you have certain celebrities from Hollywood and America who go over to that place. Basically, you go, you have to take a sleeping bag and all of your own toiletries and whatnot. You stay about a month, because right now there's a seminar going on there. It's a month long, a month of activities. We also say today is the birthday of the great and noble, honorable, His Imperial Majesty, Emperor of Ethiopia, Haile Selassie. 1892, July 23rd. And the Rejuvenation Center in St. Lucia is run by some Rastafarian brothers who use the Rastafarian teaching philosophy as a method of healing. It is said that people go there with all different kinds of ailments. They spend a month, they come away healed. We've heard about cancer and diabetes and persons recovering from other kinds of illnesses. They go there up with the Rastafarian brothers. Spend a month. Come out good as gold. The Prime Minister of St. Lucia, the newly elected Prime Minister, Stephenson King, actually did a personal video about that place. Because apparently he went there as well, and the results were just incredible. So, hopefully I'll get in contact with the brother again, because like I said, we were on the same forum sometime last year. But his work is really magnificent. And there are also teachers, like we have a brother in the Nation of Islam. His name is Rizza Islam. You probably have seen his videos on YouTube and Instagram and TikTok and Facebook, circulating by the hundreds of thousands. Rizza Islam went over there to St. Lucia to spend some time with the brother and to learn. So I was telling you about Jamaica, the theme being becoming a republic, and how important it is for all of us as Caribbean nations to break off this relationship with the Queen of England. Because in more countries than not in the English-speaking Caribbean, the Queen of England is still the head of state. Did you hear what I just said? The Queen of England is still the head of state. Just like how we have Paula May Weeks in Trinidad and Tobago, she's the head of state. The Queen of England is still the head of state in Grenada, in St. Vincent, in St. Lucia, in St. Kitts, in Antigua, in Jamaica. So last week I was on Iwer FM in Jamaica, and they said that the government is discussing having a referendum or taking it to the people to decide on whether or not they should break away from the Queen of England and become a republic, like only 4 Caribbean nations have done so far. So Trinidad and Tobago became independent in 1962. We became a republic 14 years later in 1976. Guyana became independent in 1966. They became a republic 4 years later in 1970. And only Dominica, not the Dominican Republic, that's a different place altogether. I'm talking about Dominica, the island, which is the real republic, because Dominica, the tiny island of Dominica, they became independent and a republic at the same time in 1978. And they're the only country that did that. So you had Trinidad and Tobago, Guyana, and Dominica. 1970, 1976, 1978, they become republics. Then all the 1980s pass by. Then the full 1990s passes by. No other countries. Then the first 2 decades in the 2000s, in the 21st century, the first 2 full decades pass by. No other countries become a republic. But then last year, on their Independence Day, November the 30th, Barbados, in 2021, became only the 4th republic in the English-speaking Caribbean. Look at that. So 1970 Guyana, 1976 Trinidad and Tobago, 1978 Dominica, and then all of these decades passes by. No one else takes that step. But Barbados, under their new progressive Prime Minister, Mia Mottley, they said, nope, it's time. It's time. They did it. And we celebrate with them for doing that. But Jamaica have been talking about it since 2012. Well, they've been talking about it for a long time before that. But they were moving towards becoming a republic around 2012 for their 50th anniversary of independence. And now, instead of them just doing it, they're talking about having a referendum. So the interviewer asked me last week, say, Dr. Muhammad, what are your thoughts on Jamaica having a referendum to decide on whether or not they want to break off ties from the British monarch, break off ties from having the Queen of England as the head of state of Jamaica, and for Jamaica to become a republic? What are your thoughts on this referendum? And I said, that is a terrible idea. That is a terrible idea, dreadful idea. To have a referendum for that? Hell no. And I gave 2 reasons. One is the last time Jamaica held a referendum of that magnitude, it didn't turn out too well for all of us. That was in 1961, when they took it to the people to decide on whether or not they want to remain part of the Federation of the West Indies. Happy belated birthday to the Mighty Sparrow. Remember, I spoke with the Mighty Sparrow on the phone back in 1994. Never forget that conversation. And told him, Minister Louis Farrakhan sends the greetings for you. And the Mighty Sparrow said, man, that's my friend. And that if Minister Farrakhan had stayed in Calypso, he would have given him some serious competition. And then, in 2001, the Mighty Sparrow was a special guest at the home of Minister Farrakhan in Chicago for his 60th birthday. No, wasn't his 60th birthday as yet, but his birthday in 2001. Yeah, 2001. Mighty Sparrow was there. What does the Mighty Sparrow have to do with this? Well, the Mighty Sparrow sang about that referendum, saying 1 from 10 leaves none, which was the remark made by Dr. Eric Williams after Jamaica's decision. Trinidad and Tobago made a similar decision. And then we saw what the historians write of as the collapse of the Federation of the West Indies. But when the people in Jamaica voted on that, it's not so much that they were voting on being one with their Caribbean brothers and sisters, more so than them voting in a referendum that became entangled in the local issues at the time. And they were accusing the Manleys, Norman Manley at the time, who was the first premier of Jamaica, they were accusing him of being communist. And there was this whole propaganda campaign about Russia and China and Cuba and the Red Army and KGB forces and the possibility of becoming enemies with America. So the people supposed to be voting on whether or not to stay in the Federation of West Indies, but instead, many people were responding to that whole communism talk. And I think I'm correct in saying Jamaica is the only country where the person who was the premier was not the first prime minister. So we have a premier around the time of internal self-government. So Dr. Eric Williams was our first premier, and then he became the prime minister when we became independent, as is the case with most of the other Caribbean islands. But in Jamaica, Norman Manley was the premier, but Alexander Bustamante was the first prime minister, because there was a massive propaganda campaign there. And so when they started to vote on the Federation of the West Indies, other issues became a distraction, and people felt like voting in favor of what the Manleys wanted was like voting for communism. So Jamaica voted 52% to pull out, 48% to stay in. That's reason number one. But reason number two is much bigger as to why I felt there should not be a referendum in Jamaica to vote on whether or not they should become a republic and break off ties with the Queen of England. And that is because some things are simply non-negotiable. Some things should not require a discussion. And our freedom, and full and complete freedom, is one of them. Having a referendum to decide on whether we should cut off ties with the Queen of England as the head of state is like having a referendum among newborn babies in a hospital for them to decide whether or not they should have the umbilical cord of their mothers cut. Having a referendum like that is like 18-year-olds across the country having a referendum as to whether or not they should change a law that children who reach maturity, grow up, get a job, get educated, that they should not leave their parents' homes, that they should just stay there for the rest of their lives, living off the... And really, ultimately, Jamaica having a referendum among the people to decide on whether or not they should become a republic is like having a referendum among slaves on a plantation, asking them if they want their freedom or not. No, that's not negotiable. And it's an insult to ask the slave, do you want your freedom or do you want to stay on the plantation? No, that is non-negotiable. We're not going to put that to a vote. And so you have to decide. I said to my people on the radio in Jamaica, you have to decide whether you think it's better to be a slave who eats 3 meals a day or a free man who eats 1 meal a day. And if you're going to say that you would rather be a slave who gets 3 meals a day than a free man who gets only 1 meal a day, that means you're ready to sell your freedom in exchange to eliminate your hunger. And you cannot equate freedom with hunger. But we're going to talk more about that in the weeks to come. And what I really wanted to talk about this morning was, as I said in the very beginning, like I say, this is how it goes on a Saturday morning. Sometimes we go in all different directions. But I wanted to talk about a forerunner to the reparations conversation. And this forerunner to the reparations conversation was a document that was published in 1829. 1829. And I'm referring to the David Walker's Appeal. Now, first of all, remember, back in the 1800s, it wasn't that easy to publish material. To get anything printed on paper was a lot more of a rare and expensive commodity back then than it is today. And you're talking about a black man who was enslaved, who published a document called the David Walker's Appeal, which became so widespread, so notorious, so controversial, and it scared the hell out of the oppressor. The David Walker's Appeal, published in 1829, called for vengeance for slavery against white people. Not reparations, vengeance. Now, this was a message to enslaved Africans that they must fight for their liberty at any cost, even if it means rising in bloody rebellion. Now, this became a very popular piece of literature, but again, it scared the slave masters. And it reinforced their policy of not wanting black people to learn how to read, punishing people who taught the slaves literature. David Walker highlighted the racism of President Thomas Jefferson, who died 3 years before the David Walker's Appeal was published. And he rejected what he saw as the white assumption that being black was a sign of inferiority or lesser humanity. He challenged critics to show him a page of history, just one page, on which any verse can be found to support the narrative of the Jews of today, the children of Israel being enslaved by the Egyptians. He highlighted the evils, the crimes against humanity done to black people. And he said, this is worthy of us rising up in rebellion. But he put his arguments across like a lawyer. He said black knowledge would not only undermine the assertion that blacks were inherently inferior, but it would terrify whites. He said the truth about black people and their capabilities, their past achievements, and their potential to overcome the chains of slavery, those truths would terrify the slave owners. And this document, published by a black man in 1829, made it to the tables of some of the highest legal authorities in America. And they started passing laws banning the circulation of it under a Seditious Publications Act. And the legislature enacted the most repressive measures to prevent this from getting in the hands of black people. It was 4 documents together calling for this vengeance. And even some of the other abolitionists who were calling for emancipation, calling to free the slaves. This slavery is evil. It must end now. And the picketing and marching, the Quakers and others, even they were terrified by the David Walker's appeal. Even those who were fighting against slavery were afraid. Say, no, this is too harsh. White Southerners' fears about a black-led challenge to slavery did come to pass just a year later in the Nat Turner Rebellion. And the Nat Turner Rebellion, as Dr. Khalid Muhammad used to say, saw black people going from plantation to plantation, killing white folks and cutting white throats. Now again, think of it, and think of how you are feeling right now. Hearing that, oh my gosh, killing white people, that's so terrible. But you're feeling like something is wrong with that picture while you're totally ignoring the tens, the hundreds, the thousands, the tens of thousands, and the hundreds of thousands of Africans that were killed by them. And our brainwashing has been so thorough that when there's just a discussion about revenge against one of them, after killing 1 million of us, you are black, but you still feeling more uncomfortable about the idea of revenge against one for the killing of 1 million of you. And this leads us to the Dred Scott case. All of this information is in Black Studies. If you don't have a copy of Black Studies as yet, you should. And you see, after this emancipation, I'm telling you, I'm ending off all of these discounts. We've given probably well over $100,000 in discounts on that book, Black Studies. But we're down to our last maybe couple hundreds in storage. So we're cutting out all of those discounts. But in Black Studies as well, we talk about the case of Dred Scott. Dred Scott was a black man who was a slave. His original owner had moved to Alabama, later to St. Louis. The owner died in 1832, and Dred Scott was sold for $500 to a doctor who went to Wisconsin, which meant that Dred Scott was free. So he was a slave, but he was taken to an area where slavery was outlawed, but then he was later re-enslaved, but he challenged his freedom at the court. And on the March 6, 1857 case of Dred Scott versus John Sanford, Dred Scott showed, listen, according to your American law, I was a slave, then I became free, and you broke the law by re-enslaving me. I'm taking you all to court. Oh, the time is running on us. Maybe I'll continue in the second. But Dred Scott took them to court for his freedom and showed and proved that he was right in what he was saying. And he was right. But what happened in the court will shock you. The final ruling of that judge, Roger B. Taney, will terrify you. I'll tell you as soon as we come back.
The views expressed are not necessarily the views of the management of the Street 919 FM.
And you make a song, take my short and you make it long. Keep my feet firmly on the ground. When I'm weak, yeah, you make me strong. So for you know I sing this song. Everybody hands up and sing it with me. We are something special, hey, very special, hey, something special, hey, hey, hey. We are something special, hey, very special, hey, something special, hey, hey. See when I tell you, no, no. See when I tell you, no, no. See when I tell you, no, no. Hey, very special, no, no. See when I tell you, no, no. See when I tell you, no, no. Where we going, where we going, where we going? We up and down, we all around. We going country, we going down. We going east, we going west. You know we friendship, it is the best. We up and down, we all around. We going country, we going down. We going down to the ground, 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 to the ground. We are something special, hey, very special, hey, something special, hey, hey, hey. We are something special, hey, very special, hey, something special, hey, hey. See when I tell you, no, no. See when I tell you, no, no. See when I tell you, no, no. Hey, hey, very special, no, no. See when I tell you, no, no. See when I tell you, no, no. Hey, hey, hey. When I tell you, I tell you, I say what I tell you when I tell you, I mean it. I tell you when I tell you, what I tell you when I tell you, I mean it. I telling you what I tell you when I tell you, when I tell you what I tell you, I mean it.
Looking for a safe and relaxed professional massage therapist and nutritionist? Look no further. Nature's Touch with Empress Judy and Associates offers a natural approach to better health. Treat yourself to a professional massage therapy and nutrition advice in a safe and relaxed atmosphere. Rejuvenate your body, mind, and soul at Nature's Touch Therapy. For an appointment, please call or WhatsApp 1-868-398-8282 or visit our Facebook page. Remember, your health is our responsibility at Nature's Touch.
Better vision for your physical eyes, and through the eyes of faith, let healing arise in your mind, body, and spirit. At Natural Heal Ministries, we teach kingdom principles for living that brings the blessing of God to your mind, body, and soul.
NHM Professional Associates are located at number 10 Moody Stewart Street, Monterey Post, San Fernando. For more info, contact Dr. Desmond Phillip at NHM on 349-3494.
NHM Professional Associates can be heard live on the Street 919 FM every Saturday from 9:05 to 9:55 a.m.
Blessings in the wonderful name of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. You are invited to listen to the Final Hour broadcast heard every Monday from 12 midnight to 5 a.m. in the morning on the Street 919 FM radio. Hear my mom, Pastor Helen Garcia, and myself, Pastor Valentine Garcia Jr., preach the Word of God to the elderly, youth, and children. We can be contacted at 629-0113 or 623-8444. The church is located at 26 Prince Street in Port of Spain. We look forward to you joining us. God bless you.
As my life
Trinidad and Tobago, there are so many things to talk about. Social issues, injustice, child abuse, domestic violence, political scandals, and much more. On HOTP, we will cover all that and much more. Don't forget, you can catch us every Wednesday, Saturday, and Sunday nights from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. on Facebook and Instagram. Hot off the press. Hot topics, no filter.
Share the live. Share the live. The Street 919 FM on Facebook and Instagram. Share the live. Iowa George on Instagram. Share the live. Iowa TV and Street TV on YouTube. Share the live. The Street 919 FM.
Brotherhood is required. Brotherhood is demanded. Brotherhood is obligatory.
Black man, get up. Black man, stand up. Black man, you better listen.
So there's a need for brotherhood.
Black man, get up. Black man, stand up. Black man, you better listen. Black man, get up. Black man, stand up. Black man, you better listen.
Brotherhood is demanded.
Black man, get up. Black man, stand up. Black man, you better listen.
Brotherhood is required. Brotherhood is demanded. Brotherhood is obligatory. Brotherhood is essential, it is urgent, and it is compulsory. But the time demands brotherhood. Whenever the dominant white society fears for its economic future, racial tensions are always aggravated. The aim of Almighty God is to bring the black man and woman together. The aim of Almighty God is that we, no matter how divided we have been in the past, must experience unity in order to gain the success that we seek and the progress that we desire. There is no way that a divided people can build a future. Brotherhood is required. Brotherhood is demanded. So there's a need for brotherhood. But if you walk the earth proud and arrogant, you never learn your lesson because you think you already know. And how in the hell could you know and be in the shape that we're in? How can there be any brotherhood if there's not even the honoring of a word?
Black man, get up. Black man, stand up. Black man, you better listen. Black man, get up. Black man, stand up. Black man, you better listen. Black man, get up. Black man, stand up. Black man, you better listen.
But the Quran and the Bible bear witness that the heavens and the earth were created with truth.
Black man, stand up. Black man, you better listen.
Brotherhood is required. Brotherhood is demanded. Brotherhood is obligatory. Brotherhood is essential. It is urgent and it is compulsory. I feel that every man that wants to speak should have the right. And if you think you know it better, get on up. Come on. And get on and do the job. But if you don't know what to do, and all your mouth is able to do is condemn and criticize, but you have no works to show the rightness of your philosophical adherence, then maybe you should rethink your position.
Welcome back and welcome to the second hour of the Black Agenda here on the Street 919 FM. I am Brother David Muhammad. We're going up to 9 o'clock and we're going to take your calls in a short moment. So I just want to tell you about next week, Sunday. I'm delivering my Emancipation lecture at the Kwame Ture Center. That's Sunday, July 31st, 11 o'clock in the morning. Put the date down. Remember, we have the George Padmore Boys Academy sessions running Saturday mornings from 10 o'clock to 11:30 at the Kwame Ture Center. We just have about 4 weeks left for this first cycle. Then we're going to take a break and resume in mid-September. So just before we went on a break, I was telling you about the Dred Scott case. And just to recap, Dred Scott was a black man who was enslaved. His quote-unquote owner moved to Alabama in 1819. Then he moved to St. Louis. In 1832, Dred Scott's owner died, and Dred Scott was sold to a surgeon for $500 who was a doctor for the United States Army, who took Dred Scott to the state of Illinois and then to Wisconsin in 1834, where, according to the law at that time, slavery in the northern states was illegal. In the southern states, it was still the law. And this is why we have the Juneteenth celebration, the attempt to deceive the slaves into thinking that slavery was still legal, and also the Confederate flag as a symbol of racism, which is representative of those southern states. So Scott tried to escape from slavery and buy his freedom. And in 1846, he filed suit in the Missouri state courts for his freedom on the grounds that residents in a free territory had liberated him. Now, this case got to the United States Supreme Court because, first of all, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of cases. I don't have the exact statistic, but I would imagine that much less than 1% of cases in America would make it to the Supreme Court. That is only cases of a certain stature, of a certain amount of importance, that will make it to the United States Supreme Court. And this case, the Dred Scott case, made it to the Supreme Court. And when the case was presented, Dred Scott versus John Sanford was heard in the Supreme Court on March the 6th, 1857. And they all had to bear witness, but Dred Scott is right. The law is on his side. They were wrong to try to re-enslave him. It was illegal for them to hold him as a slave. So, it was clear, and all the judges in the court, all the lawyers, everyone knew that Dred Scott was right. But when the Chief Justice Roger B. Taney gave his ruling, he ruled against Dred Scott. Why? Because in his ruling, after bearing witness, well, Dred Scott was right. What they did to him was illegal and he should be set free. Chief Justice Roger B. Taney said that Dred Scott could not sue John Sanford because Dred Scott was not a citizen of the United States of America. It gets really confusing now. So you're asking, well, wait, so where is he a citizen of? This is so deep, beloved. Dred Scott was born in America. He grew up in America. He lived in America. In fact, he never set foot on any other country but America. But the judge in the Supreme Court said, well, yeah, you're right. All your arguments are correct. Yes, we understand, but you cannot sue this man because you're not a citizen of America. Even though he was born there and never went anywhere else but there. Because at that time, according to the American Constitution, black people were only 3/5 of a human being. We weren't a full human being. We were only 3/5 of a human being. And then what Justice Taney said next was even more horrifying. So he made his point that Dred Scott cannot sue Stanford because he was both black and a slave. And that, quote, these are the words that have rang out in history for almost the last 2 centuries. He said, black men have no rights which the white man was bound to respect. That's the United States Supreme Court. So in other words, yes, black men, you have rights. You have rights. You have right to freedom of speech, freedom of assembly. You have all these rights, yes. But white men, by law, are not bound to respect those rights. Remember, in 1669, the state of Virginia had the Casual Killing Act, which made it legal for any white man to kill any black man if that black man was disobedient to an instruction to return to a slave plantation. You can kill a black person and it won't even be a crime under those circumstances of disobedience. Now, even though technically with the passing of the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments to the American Constitution, the freeing the slaves, the giving the slaves the right to vote, and then making the slaves citizens, that category no longer stands. But you still see the spirit of those laws. So, I say all of this to introduce us to this idea of the David Walker's Appeal. The David Walker's Appeal, that 4-part document that was published in 1829 calling for vengeance for slavery. And that shook up so many people because, again, what David Walker was saying in the document was all the truth. He simply pointed out and highlighted the evils, the crimes against humanity that were done against African people. He simply pointed to it, highlighted it, showed it up, but then called for vengeance for it. Never forget what happened to our ancestors, beloved. So let me open up the telephone lines now. It is 12 minutes past 8 o'clock on this Saturday morning, the birthday of His Imperial Majesty Emperor of Ethiopia, Haile Selassie. So we acknowledge that. So our numbers in studio are 3420081 and 466-5391. Let's go to the phones. Caller, good morning. Are you there?
A pleasant morning to you, dear doctor and philosopher.
Good morning, sir.
You hear me properly, dear doctor?
Loud and clear.
Thank you. Look, it's a good morning where the Creator have created, and the sun is up. So again, pleasant morning to you, yourself, dear doctor, your family, and to the entire movement. I wouldn't be too long this morning, but I want to put everything in a nutshell. Based upon what you were saying in terms of Jamaica, Barbados, that independence republic, Trinidad and Tobago will be celebrating 60 years as an independent nation. And when I look at 60 years, there's where I took my cue from your editorial. And I'll tell you what. When I look at 60 years as an independent country, as a concerned citizen, I cannot say, in truth and frank, I feel as though there is any independence to celebrate for 60 years, and I'll tell you why. And this is my opinion as a citizen. When all your natural resources and all the minerals of this country, where we would have started, just as what you were saying in terms of when Dr. William was the premier, I am saying as a citizen, I'm now seeing all of that is going back into the white people's hands. I am now seeing Petrotrin, I am now seeing TSCT, I am now seeing all state enterprises, the pitch lake, all our natural resources. And sad to say, what you now have is the working poor. What you now have is poverty. But Tabakit, why go there? Yes, I want to go there. You talk about the land. County in 1975 is the largest holder of land. When you spoke about that, Brother Farrakhan talked about it in the introduction in that way before you brought your editorial. And how can I celebrate 60 years as an independent, dear brother, doctor, and philosopher? But Tabakit, you fast with yourself. No! Doctor, I want to go there, doctor. You see the thing about it, we got to stop being disingenuous and talk the truth. And the thing about it, the community that it affects the most is the African community. And when we have politicians who is blacker than the SSP, no disrespect, but I'm calling it this morning. Because your editorial, whether you like it or not, speak directly to what's happening in the African community. Yes, all citizens. But I'm saying here, dear doctor and philosopher, when we look at 60 years, and I'm saying here respectively, I feel perhaps we would have a people's revolution. And when I say people's revolution, not with violence, but revolution of the mind, is only so much a people could take for 60 years. And how the present governance structure is taking us right back where we started to give all our natural resources, which in truth and frank, dear doctor, belongs to the citizen. And I'm saying here, if nothing else in your editorial would have moved me when you spoke in the mic in terms of what's happening in the African community, I am saying, listen, doctors, I take my leave. To get Clowny land as an African person in Trinidad is as though you're pulling out a pin from a staircase and tell me, you go tell me, as a citizen, I must say I am proud for 60 years as an independent nation. Listen to me, doctor. Tabakit is saying no, it's a lie, it's a hoax. It is time for revolution of the mind. We must see the people's power to tell the current governance structure you cannot sell out the natural resources of this country. Tabakit out and out. Thank you.
Thank you. And you know, maybe this is something that has been missing from our celebrations of Independence Day and Republic Day over the years, that we haven't really taken the opportunity to revisit ideas of liberation. What about land? How much land do we have? How much food are we growing? Are we comfortable living in a society where you have one group as rich and wealthy and everyone else poor and suffering? You know, do we revisit these kinds of ideas when it comes to Independence Day and Republic Day? Or is it just about the red, white, and black, the colors, the parade, the soldiers, the national anthem, and so on? We have to start thinking differently. Caller, are you there?
Yeah, assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Elaine Hakim Mohammed. Welcome to the African community. Happy emancipation. Those who are conscious and those who are not conscious. Those who want to see us go forward and those who don't want to see us go forward, they're all Africans still. My brother, sometimes my mind just stray. It just have me wondering what direction I'm really going into. And I'm put back at that piece of empty land next to the mosque down there. And you know, I asked myself, why is it that the state wouldn't give that piece of land thing?
Well, brother, I think we spoke about this on air already, didn't we?
Yeah, we spoke about it. But
right. This is not a discussion for on the air, though.
Okay, all right. But I know we try to pass on a seat empty. You understand? It gets to me. You understand? That something could be done there. You understand? Even you could have a Popeye or something in the meantime until, you know, you're ready to do something. You know, but it gets to me. Because that's how we think as a people. Whereas the other people, they don't think like that. They say, okay, that's yours, you take that. You understand? Because it's the people. Anyway, but David, you know, it's emancipation. And you know what amazed me? I look at, I'm not seeing, you understand, that type of freedom that we had, that a few years ago we have seen on the media heard, you understand, being spoken about. You understand? This, you know, sometimes I didn't want to get into these things because it hurts. You understand? When you are conscious and you understand what is going to hurt. It's like a deliberate attempt, you understand, to keep you away from that, you understand? They do it, you know. Psychologically, they do it, and we don't understand what is going on. You see, this week coming here, everybody's going to be talking about emancipation, and what is going to happen? The Africans themselves, who you expect, you understand, to be saying something before, you know what they're going to come with? If it's one day, why it's only one day, we must wear African clothing. You understand? With all the other communities, the Indian, everybody, when they have the thing, they wear the cultural clothing. But every time we come with a negative and a negative and a negative, you understand? It's a sad thing, you know. As I said, that calypso by Stalin, you fall into that gap, and all these strugglers before, that one slave, you understand? He must never get away. You can't let him to get away because what he could cause, the damage he could cause, you understand, to the slave masters, you can't let him get away. That one slave, you understand, that calypso, I've heard it once, I've never heard it before. I don't know when he sang that calypso, but that calypso is a real calypso in the struggle that we have. Our struggle, you understand, is a struggle that, Brother David, it has hurt me. Because when I see sometimes, you know, when I hear you and others and all these sort of things, all through the years and things, and I see, like, some of our people, like, they're not learning because, like, they're in the same direction. But they're promoting other people things are not yours. You understand? You're promoting people. You're not promoting bacon shark and fried bacon, this sort of thing anymore, you know. You understand? When you come to Trinidad and Tobago, now you come for a double. You understand? And that is what we're promoting, our food. You understand? Which are strong and healthy. And as other people growing up, you're not promoting. And you see this thing we're talking about, the wheat coming back, coming out of Ukraine with Russia. And
yeah, well, we're waiting to see the price of bread go back down.
It's going nowhere. And the psychology in that, hear what happened.
Well, I'd love to hear how they explain that they're not going to reduce the price again, because they're the ones who told us about the whole Ukraine-Russia story. We didn't jump to that conclusion on our own. We heard the authorities explain to us that the reason that the price of flour went up is because of the Russia-Ukraine issue. And the two governments came together in the middle of their war. In the middle of the war. War's still going on. But they came to an agreement to stop the blockade with the wheat. So.
Yeah, Brother David, you know, I heard something by the committee or whatever the organization in Shogwana City yesterday, that they are calling on the public to buy your own sanitizer when you're coming into the business, because it's costing them. Think about that. You go in there to shop to give them money. You understand? But a little sanitizer, they say it's costing them. You see all these things? But anyway, what is going to happen here now? They're going to try to get us to go back to wait on that flour to get bread. You understand? When we have already started a process, you understand, of using the ground provision, which we should have been doing for years. You understand? That experiment had we stayed with Mr. Robinson when he said to go local. We'd have probably developed and not have to depend on that which is coming from there. Another thing we'll do, I say, because we speak about organic. Everything now is organic, you know. Everything they tell you it's organic, but it's not organic. If you don't know, you get caught and tied up with them, or it's not easy outside the house. But anyway, brother, you remain strong as you are, you continue as you're going, and I hope that someday the sense come into this government, Canada, black government, and do the right thing where you are concerned, and that is concerned. Brother David, because you are going, Brother David. You know what they do, I say? They take everything we have, you know. One time, you will say get jail in this country for playing away.
Yeah.
The jail for that, the man make all kind of jail for that, you know. Today, the state is making millions of dollars on it. The brother, with the Susu, they stop him. You understand? And it's so long they take, and they to crump up a charge to stop him from doing. I wonder if you could make that legal. You understand? Every idea we have, they come with and they take. Do you know that Calypso was illegal years ago to sing in the market? It was illegal, you know. Ask all wrong there. They charge him for singing Calypso in the market. And look at today, who making this of money on Kaiso. Well, David, have a good day.
All right, my brother. Thank you.
I'll be down there next week.
Okay, lovely. Next Sunday. Great. Yes, sir. Good morning, caller.
Good morning to you.
Good morning, sir.
And good morning to your listeners at this time. And I want to say there's Emancipation Day next week. I saw half of the country in that. Or even majority of the country in that. I want to say it again. I won't flex. I have a different point of view. This is my point of view. It's Emancipation Day next week. I saw half of the country in that. I saw half of the African youth in Trinidad and Tobago in that. Sure, you hear that. So, where are we going with this? Brother Mohammed, you speak about the crime in our great country. And today, I am still concerned because I focus today on the capital of Trinidad and Tobago. Why it exposed for criminals and killers. Why the capital of Trinidad and Tobago, where hundreds of thousands passing every single day. A man could just walk in town, pull off your head, and walk back where you come from. It's sad to see that tourists today in our country do not want to come because we're the sixth most dangerous country in the world. And this government have no crime plan, have no policy for the youth of our nation. First time in history that a government come in and do not have a crime plan, do not have a plan to stop the idle hands, and not by killing them, not by supporting one shot, one kill. Forgive, nasty. Oh, now will you realize, because it's politics, where you don't want the one shot, one kill again. Before, where you want him. Why is people like us? David Mohammed was asking questions about that one shot, one kill. I was asking questions about that one shot, one kill. And all they say, leave him. He's the boy now. He come over. You talk with him, pick a madman. You don't know we do. You don't know understand we do. You don't know understand. It was a mistake. What we was telling him all the time. I went in Parliament, David Mohammed, to witness. Sit down 6 hours. I can't move my hand, I can't move my foot, because you're, I think like a statue in the gallery. To witness, to see if the duck really, my heart bleeds. Because I can remember when the duck was going around with competition with the people, a mother, an African mother, a sister, stand up and ask her, he said, Duck, that one shot killing our children, that one shot, one kill, innocent people getting killed. 3 men from Mova. 3 men from Mova under that one shot, one kill. 16-year-old boy in Mova, the grandmother, a whole house they went and killed in Mova. When God lost his work for asking Christian and Gary came in court to put a muzzle. Well, like African people, will you really care about Emancipation Day? Up to now, I ain't see a good ad to tell us Emancipation Day going on. It's coming. Weeks. I look on the government station. You see what about Emancipation Day? Nothing heading up to Emancipation Day on the government station. I turn on the black stations and then on the frequency airways to hear Emancipation talk. No Emancipation talk. There's bacchanal confusion. Them say and they say, me say, you say, she say, we say, you say, he say. This is how we live in as African community. And as I go back to the main point, Brother Mohammed, we have to be scared to walk in our own capital. The state of Independence Square, the state of Branagh Promenade, no maintenance. Excuse me. The state of the Bedford Shred. The state of that, they pay $1 million walk over and renovate, paint over Bedford Shred. The state. And you are seeing that school children is coming from school. You are seeing school children is going from school. And a man could walk and blow off a man head. And we have a whole set of city police in town jumping on this PH taxi drivers who carrying passengers home at Diego Martin, at Pitty Valley, at St. James, at Caronage, giving them tickets for making an honest dollar. They ain't going to this cable. They ain't going for cable. They're outside there making an honest dollar, trying to feed the family. But the police out there, to give the PH taxi drivers tickets, not to protect the citizens who looking to travel and get home to see about the family. But the capital of Trinidad and Tobago is exposed to see blood running in our streets, to see police could run into 4 innocent young youths on shotgun shooting by public down there in our capital. For a moment, this country, we are heading for disaster, you know. By no hurricane and all some people praying for, you know. But by we own selves, by we own disaster. And God within the shore, Trinidad and Tobago, God love you, God respect you. But the people of Trinidad and Tobago, with the shore, Trinidad and Tobago, don't blame God for all their behavior. Don't blame God for all their out of control ways. Don't blame God for I love this party, and I love this party because I follow international. And I know when Republican and a Democrat done, they govern for the country. I know Boris leaving and all these England politicians is going to govern for England people. I know that. So when the politics done in this country and election done, why we not govern for all?
All right.
So will you have a minister of national security, an African man who took African conscious up to now? They ain't got a plan to say, well, let me go around to these young fellas and them and ask questions. Yeah. Ask what is the reason why. I mean, sit down and talk. Don't buy more armor vehicles. Don't buy more guns. Don't every year only recruiting more police. Don't build more police stations and the police station and them ain't working. Because how much police station you will have? How much police? How much?
All right. Well, thank you. You've made your point.
On that talk.
Yeah.
Why we need to secure the capital of Trinidad and Tobago. And I want to tell Minister Hines, I wouldn't allow our capital of Trinidad and Tobago to be exposed. You will have to resign from that position.
All right. Thanks a lot. Caller, good morning.
Well, it was, I heard all your discourse and everything, and it was a good morning. Started to get a little. I mean, how somebody could not know emancipation holiday is coming up. This is something that is well celebrated every year. And every minute on the radio you're hearing something about emancipation. What is nonsense you're hearing there now? But anyways, Brother David, very good morning to all. When you listen to what you spoke of there earlier on, the man who sued the government and so on, and that whole past and history of the United States, where these people dominated and just played like they created everything. You can see how sick these people are. And I keep saying, we want to believe that that was then and now is something different. It is not so. These are the same people that are running the country. Their descendants, they are the ones who are in control now. Nothing has changed. You are telling people that they are 3/5 of a human being, and that was law of the land. You run down somebody and kill them because they want their freedom to live as they want to live. And you get free labor to build a nation to supremacy. Every time I hear about reparation, I really, really hoping that we come together and understand how important this thing they call reparation, what is rightfully ours. We built this new world with licks and brutality. And we cannot just shelve it as that was back then. The same thing is happening today. So we cannot just, I mean, you understand how sick these people are? Thank you very much, Brother David.
Thank you, my sister. Caller, good morning. Caller, are you there? Caller? All right, well, I'm not hearing you. You can try calling again. Caller, good morning.
Good morning, Brother David.
Yes, sir.
Listen, Listen, I want to talk about politics this morning. Is our government responsibility to help social standard living of the people, of the citizens? In this country, the social standard of the citizens has deteriorated significantly for the past 8 years or so. And that situation is because the wealth is not being distributed equally, especially to the lower spectrum of the people. Now, I heard Finance Minister made a statement concerning the economy lately. And he's saying that if you look all over the world, economy is all over the world. It's a global. And this man is saying this thing to citizens, and people are repeating the same damn thing he's saying. Now, I have the question, why is it these politicians in this country always make a comparison to the worst scenario in the world?
Yeah.
They always come worse. Wait, you never think before how well it's doing, what it is doing to the economy, and they have a population just as among others, as Trinidad. You have Dubai, you have Qatar, all these are doing very well, and most of them have the amount of sources as Trinidad do have. Some of them, they don't have gas, some of them, they don't have oil, some is only commercial, and they are doing very good. But in Trinidad, these people are repeating what the government with the country blind. Now, look at Trinidad. Look at the politics. We have people who vote in PNM, they vote in UNC, election after election. And when they look at the whole, it's a cycle, a bad man in this country. And people are condoning these things with this government. Take for example, they say PNM is an African party. But when you look at the face of PNM at this present time, look at the front row. You have Alari, Siotong, Yaruan, and Sinanan. And these people are benefiting tremendously financially. Mr. accused himself from nearly 200. What does that say? It says they family brute continuously. And yet we have supporters of the government. It's condoning sending these people. Just imagine, Brother David, that this country is a stage where the poor is spending the rich. Anytime a country is that stage, the country is doomed. Because take the, whenever you talk about development, you hear somebody come up at the 1%, and they're giving me this, and you're giving me that. Come from the master stable, master stable. That is what people are voting in this country. That the 1% is doing good, that they help in Africa. What matters is this? Instead you think about development, you're talking about the marshal say that? Whether the people is mainly responsible for all these things.
Yeah. Well, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, caller. Thanks a lot. Made the point strongly. 3420081 and 4665391.
Morning.
Yes, good morning.
Oh, yeah. All right, yes, I inside. Good morning, brother David Mohammed. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes.
I like the topic this morning, brother David Mohammed. Especially when you talk about in the 68, let's say, when it was told to the court that the brother wasn't a citizen of America. I will start from there. Why? Because according to your conversation of, we don't gain emancipation. What we have to gain is liberation. All of that will tie in because even as many times that I and all will say that most of us don't know what is independence. Because who was given independence? We wasn't really given independence as much as anybody, but even up to that, say so. We wasn't given independence. The elite of the time who wanted to govern by themselves away from England, they got independent. Because on all that we have, and that had been said that we got independent. I didn't see no African, no black African, no slave was a president or a prime minister at the time. Nah, I wonder if he was. You see, so on the end of it, what we live in is the same situation of the situation you said earlier. We are not citizens of the Caribbean. We are not citizens of where they call the West Indies. And that goes to the whole Caribbean of African, of black-blooded human beings. And I don't want to say too much. I think that should say as much as what you say in your excerpt earlier. But we have to look at free for self. Like, that is something you're accustomed saying. Brothers and sisters, see for yourself. There is nobody coming to see for you. Going again. Russia, Ukraine. We have to see for ourselves. You see what they're seeing for themselves? All right. So let me go a little bit into the flower. I listen to the news from BBC.
Wait, second caller, 1 second.
Okay.
No, you go ahead. We have two callers online.
I listen to the BBC.
Just finish up because we have two callers on the line.
Okay, and I realized that the prices could raise for real because even ships that passing through the Black Sea in its process may raise because of insurance and all kinds of spreading the bombs in the sea and all that. So there is a possibility that the flour may not come down, but it might even raise or keep at a standard.
Well,
and have a nice day, brother, because I understand it's short and I'm glad for the little moment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Trinidad and Tobago.
Thank you so much. Right, other caller, you there?
Yes, sir. Good morning. How are you?
I'm great, thank you.
All right. I would like to ask a little favor. I've been listening to some of the contributions, and I think it should be only fair that when it is people say some things that may not be correct, you correct them so they don't remain in their false understandings of the situations. Because then when it is they go away, they just come and they speak, and they go away believing that what they have said is correct. They will not learn. And this is one of the problems that we have all over the world, that people like to speak, but they don't like to listen. So when people make a mistake, I think you should correct the error so that at least when they finish here, they learn something. Because sometimes they don't even speak on what you are speaking, but they speak on something different, and they go away with their own ideas still remaining intact, even though it may be erroneous.
All right, well, let me just try to get a bit of understanding on this. Now, if someone says something or represents something that they say is a fact, and I have information at hand that is not so, then I would make a correction.
Okay.
However, if someone gives an opinion on a matter and they represent it as their opinion, whether I agree or disagree, I'm in no position to alter a person's opinion. All right, so just
I understand, but I
right.
think you should give them the real fact.
Right, but apparently,
Get a better understanding to make a better
but
opinion.
all facts are real facts, no doubt. And I would say what I have to say, and then some would agree, some would disagree, and then their opinion will be determined accordingly. But apparently, it seems like you have noticed something or have identified something that was incorrect that someone said. So you want to share that with us?
But yeah, just now, like for instance, the gentleman was speaking about, I heard somebody saying about distribution of wealth and making alarm. I'm glad that he brought up Singapore, because Singapore was has been running 1-2 on the global competitiveness index for a very long while. And sadly, during a certain period of years, Trinidad dropped by about 30 points. And only have been able to recover within the last 6 years.
Right. Okay. So our time is almost up. But what is it that was said that was wrong that needs to be corrected, though?
All right. Okay. There was a number of different things from Kingsley go right back. So it was. I will need to call in another day.
All right. Well, could you highlight one thing?
That there were no African people going there when it says we went to get independence.
That there were no African people where?
This country didn't have 1% at the time when we got independence.
Didn't have 1% of what?
No, because people keep harping on the 1%.
Okay. Well, actually, you might be wrong there. You might be wrong there, because Dr. Eric Williams in 1961 identified a group of people whom he referred to as Massa, and he said Massa they done. Right, but it's the same. Generally, it's the same people who identified as the 1% today. And Dr. Eric Williams also explained in a speech in 1961 what he meant specifically by using the term Massa, because some sectors of the community called upon him to apologize for using that kind of language, and he said no. He said Massa are those, he said, they have political influence, but they are those who have their own control over the economy. And he said, if we're about to go into independence. Okay, right. So you're giving opinions on something. I'm asking you. Of course, it's how can you say it's not the same people? And who's the 1% today then?
4 people is called 1% now was the Syrians.
Right, but if you go with no. All right. See, so you see, again, we go back to opinions, because according to the philosophy of Lloyd Best, in our socio-political culture, we don't really make a distinction as far as socioeconomic class is concerned. We don't make a distinction between whites and Syrians and Portuguese in Trinidad. They are, quote unquote, local white, and they equally enjoy a privilege that black people don't have. So again, that's a perspective. You cannot say it's different people. From the point of view of Lloyd Best, which I agree with, it's the same people. But please, I'm urging you, please call back again next week so we can continue this conversation a bit, all right?
No problem.
Yeah.
No problem.
All right. Well, beloved, so remember next week, Sunday, we have the Emancipation Lecture, but stay tuned to 919 as I greet you in peace. Assalamu alaikum.
Expressed are not necessarily the views of the management of the street. 919 FM.